Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Lagos, there lived a young woman named Omotala. She was graceful, with eyes that shone like the evening stars. She worked in her father's fabric shop on Broad Street. The shop was always busy, filled with women buying lace and ankara. Lagos was noisy, with dawnful buses honking and traders shouting. One afternoon, a young man named Rotimi entered the shop. He was tall, dressed in simple clothes, and carried the look of determination. Rotimi came to buy fabric for his mother. He greeted Omotala politely. "Ekawa, madame." She looked up and saw his gentle smile. Something stirred in her heart. The busy Lagos street outside seemed to go silent for a moment. Their eyes met, and time stood still. Omotala quickly wrapped the fabric, her hands shaking a little. Rotimi noticed, but said nothing. As he paid, he looked at her again, his voice soft. "Thank you, Omotala." She wondered how he already knew her name. That evening, Omotala sat by her window in Sorulere, watching the streetlights flicker. She thought of Rotimi. She did not know much about him, but she felt his spirit was honest. In another part of Lagos, Rotimi helped his mother at Balogun Market. As he lifted heavy bags, his mind was far away, dreaming of Omotala's smile. Love in Lagos was not always easy. The city was fast, full of noise and distraction, but destiny has its own rhythm. Their story had just begun. Days passed. Rotimi returned to the shop, pretending to buy more fabric. Omotala knew he came for another reason, but she said nothing. Instead, she teased him. "Are you opening a cloth shop too?" They laughed together. Outside, hawkers ran through the traffic, shouting prices of roasted corn and suya. Inside, a quiet bond was forming. Omotala's father noticed Rotimi's regular visits, but kept silent. In Yoruba tradition, a father watches before he speaks. He saw respect in Rotimi's eyes and patience in his steps. On a Sunday afternoon, Rotimi invited Omotala to Bar Beach. The waves of the Atlantic crashed against the shore, spraying cool mist. Children played football nearby, lovers walked hand in hand, and Lagos life danced around them. They sat on the sand, talking about dreams. Rotimi wished to build his own business someday. Omotala dreamed of becoming a teacher. Their laughter mixed with the sound of the sea. It was simple, yet magical. In that moment, they both knew their hearts had started a journey together. Rotimi and Omotala began meeting more often. They walked along Marina, eating roasted plantain from street vendors. They rode in crowded, dawnful buses, laughing as the conductor shouted, "Oshodi, Yaba, enter with your change." Lagos life surrounded them, yet in each other's presence, the world seemed lighter. Omotala's friends teased her about Rotimi, but she only smiled shyly. One evening, while walking near Tafawa Balotelli Square, Rotimi gently held her hand. It was a small gesture, but to them, it felt like a promise. Love in Lagos often faces many tests. Omotala's father began to question Rotimi's background. "Who is his family? What does he do for a living?" he asked. Omotala explained that Rotimi was from a humble home and worked hard with his mother in the market, but her father frowned. In Yoruba tradition, fathers wanted security for their daughters. Omotala's heart was torn. She respected her father, but she also felt destiny had tied her spirit to Rotimi's. That night, she prayed for guidance. Rotimi too felt the pressure. He heard whispers that Omotala's family wanted a wealthy suitor for her. In Lagos, rich men drove big cars and wore agbada made of expensive lace. Rotimi had none of these. He had only his dreams and his hardworking hands. Yet, he refused to give up. One evening, he stood before Omotala and said, "I may not be rich today, but I will fight for our love. I will build a future that will make you proud." The love between them grew stronger. They spent evenings at Freedom Park, sharing food and stories under the stars. Sometimes they walked along the third mainland bridge, watching the city lights reflect on the lagoon. Lagos was restless, but their hearts found calm in each other. Omotala began to believe that true love was worth every struggle. Still, she feared her father's disapproval. Rotimi encouraged her gently. True love is patient. Let us hold on. Omotala nodded, her heart steady with hope. One day, a wealthy young man named Folabi came to visit Omotala's family. He arrived in a shiny car, wearing a fine agbada. He spoke with confidence and promised her father he could take care of Omotala. Her father's face lit with approval. Omotala listened silently, her heart heavy. She thought of Rotimi's kind eyes and gentle words. That night, she cried softly in her room, torn between duty and love. Lagos was full of choices, but sometimes the hardest ones were of the heart. The next morning, Omotola's father called her. "My daughter, Folabi is a good man. He can give you a better life. Think carefully." Omotola lowered her head in silence. Her heart screamed Rotimi's name, but her father's words weighed heavily. Later, at the shop, Rotimi arrived, smiling as usual. Omotola forced a smile, hiding her tears. She feared telling him about Folabi. The noisy Lagos street outside felt louder than ever, but inside her chest, her heart was breaking with confusion. Folabi began to visit often. He brought gifts, gold earrings, lace wrappers, and perfume from abroad. Omotola's mother admired his generosity. Neighbors whispered, "Omotola has caught a rich husband," but Omotola's heart remained restless. When Rotimi heard the gossip, he felt a storm inside him. That evening, he waited outside Omotola's house. When she came out, he asked quietly, "Is it true you are seeing Folabi?" Tears filled her eyes. "I did not invite him, but my father insists." Rotimi clenched his fists in silence. Rotimi walked home that night through the noisy streets of Lagos Island. Danfo buses sped by. Hawkers shouted their wares, but he heard nothing. His mind was clouded. He felt powerless, yet love pushed him not to give up. At home, his mother noticed his silence. She touched his shoulder. "Rotimi, true love always faces battles. Do not let wealth blind you from the strength of your heart." Rotimi nodded, his spirit slowly finding courage. He knew this was only the beginning. Omotola's father grew impatient. "Folabi will soon travel abroad. You must give him an answer," he pressed. Omotola's voice trembled. "Baba, I respect you, but my heart does not belong to him." His face hardened. "Love does not fill the stomach. Money builds a home." His words cut deep. That night, Omotola typed a text message and sent it to Rotimi. "Do not give up on me. Fight for your love," she wrote. Rotimi's hope returned when he read Omotola's text message. He decided to act boldly. He went to Omotola's father's house, carrying a basket of food his mother had prepared. Bowing respectfully, he greeted, "Eka Rosa, I have come to speak." Her father frowned, but allowed him to enter. Rotimi spoke from his heart. "I may not be rich now, but I love your daughter truly. Give me time and I will prove myself." The old man sighed unimpressed. "Words are easy. Life is hard." Folabi meanwhile grew impatient. One evening, he cornered Omotola outside her house. "Why do you delay? Other women are waiting for me." His voice was proud, but Omotola stood firm. "I cannot give you my heart." Folabi's face darkened. "Do not be foolish. Rotimi cannot give you what I can offer you." He drove off angrily, leaving dust behind. Omotola trembled, but inside, she felt stronger. She had chosen where her heart belonged, though the path was still uncertain. Lagos, like life, was unpredictable. Rotimi began working longer hours at the market. He carried loads, saved every naira, and dreamt of starting his own small business. Each evening, he walked past Omotola's street, just to see her shadow by the window. One night, he whispered, "Wait for me, Omotola, I will rise." Inside, Omotala prayed for him, but her father, watching quietly, shook his head. Love cannot buy respect in this city, he muttered. Yet, deep down, even he saw something unshakable in Rotimi's determination. Trouble soon came. Omotala's father invited Folabi and his wealthy friends to a family dinner. They laughed loudly, boasting about foreign travels and big contracts. Omotola sat quietly, her eyes empty. Suddenly, Rotimi appeared at the gate, holding a small wrapped parcel. The guard sneered, but he stood firm. I came to bring a gift for Baba. Inside the parcel were yams and palm oil, simple but heartfelt. The room fell silent. Folabi smirked. This is what you call a gift? Omotola's heart burned. That night, after the guests left, her father confronted her. Do you see the difference? One man brings riches, the other brings yams. Omotola spoke softly but firmly. Baba, love is more precious than gold. Her father's eyes flashed. You are young. You do not understand the ways of the world. Tears rolled down Omotola's cheeks. She ran to her room, clutching Rotimi's small parcel of yams like it was a treasure. To her, it was not the gift, but the heart behind it. The days grew darker between them. Folabi pressed harder. Rotimi struggled harder, and Omotola's father tightened his grip. One evening, Omotola and Rotimi met secretly at Bar Beach. The waves roared like their troubled hearts. Rotimi held her hand. Even if the world is against us, I will not let go. Omotola whispered, then I will not let go either. Their eyes met under the moonlight, and though the storm around them was fierce, their love burned brighter. Lagos had chosen its test.
The pressure grew unbearable. One evening, Omotala's father announced before the family, Folabi will be your husband. The introduction ceremony will be held soon. Gasps filled the room. Omotala froze, her heart pounding. She wanted to scream, but culture bound her tongue. Later that night, she slipped out and met Rotimi by the lagoon. Tears poured down her face. They want to tie me to him. Rotimi's voice shook with pain. Then I must fight harder, or I will lose you forever. The news of the engagement spread quickly through Lagos Island. Neighbors whispered, Omotala will marry Folabi, the rich man. Rotimi walked the streets like a wounded lion. He tried to meet her father again, but the old man shut the door in his face. You are not her equal, he declared. Omotala, meanwhile, felt trapped. At night, she typed a text message to Rotimi, pouring out her love and sorrow. But her father was no longer comfortable with the communication between her daughter and that poor boy. He seized Omotala's phone, deleted all their conversations on the phone. As if that was not enough, he blocked and deleted Rotimi's phone number from Omotala's phone. The two lovebirds were unable to communicate with each other for weeks, and all hope seemed to vanish into smoke. Folabi, proud of his victory, began to boast in public. Soon, Omotala will be my wife, he told friends at a Lagos club. But Omotala avoided him, her heart far away. Rotimi, desperate, thought of leaving Lagos to seek work elsewhere. His mother held his hand. My son, do not let shame push you away. Sometimes stepping back is not defeat, but wisdom. Rotimi wept, torn between fighting and letting go. Omotala's face haunted him with every step he took. The engagement ceremony came quickly. Drummers played, family members wore aso ebi, and Folabi's people arrived in cars. Omotala sat quietly in the parlor, her gele tied high, but her eyes empty. As Yoruba tradition demanded, gola nuts were presented. But when asked if she accepted, her lips trembled. Yes, sir, she whispered, though her heart screamed no. Rotimi, far away at the market, heard the news like a spear through his chest. Lagos danced with music, but his soul wept in silence. After the engagement, Folabi grew more controlling. He called often, demanding her time. Omotala avoided him, clinging to memories of Rotimi. At night, she sat by the window staring at the Lego skyline, whispering his name. Rotimi, meanwhile, threw himself into work. He began apprenticing with an automobile spare parts dealer at Apapa Wharf, learning trade secrets. Pain sharpened his resolve. If I cannot have her now, I will build myself so one day no man can call me unworthy, he vowed. Months passed. Omotala's laughter disappeared. She walked through Lagos like a shadow, her spirit dim. Folabi noticed her coldness and grew suspicious. One evening, he confronted her. "You do not love me, do you?" She turned away, silent. His pride burned. "You will be mine, whether you love me or not." His words chilled her heart. That night, she cried into her pillow, whispering Rotimi's name. Far away, Rotimi also lay awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling her sorrow in his bones. Omotala's health began to suffer. She lost weight. Her once bright eyes now dull. Her mother grew worried. "Maybe her heart is not in this marriage," she whispered to her husband. But he dismissed her. She will adjust. Yet deep inside, even he began to question if wealth alone could bring happiness. Meanwhile, Rotimi's hard work paid off. The auto spare parts merchant, impressed by his honesty, trusted him with more responsibility. Slowly, Rotimi began to earn real money. His future was taking shape. One rainy evening, Omotala slipped away to Freedom Park. She sat on a bench watching raindrops fall. Suddenly, she saw him, Rotimi, drenched, standing before her. For a moment, time stopped. They ran into each other's arms, tears mixing with rain. "I thought you lost me," she whispered. "You can never lose me," he replied. But their joy was short-lived. A family friend spotted them and hurried to tell her father. The storm outside raged, but the storm inside had only begun. That night, Omotala's father was furious. "You disgraced this family. Do you think love feeds a household?" he thundered. He threatened to send her to live with relatives in Ibadan until the wedding. Omotala pleaded, but he was unmoved. Meanwhile, Rotimi faced threats too. Folabi sent men to warn him, "Stay away from her or you will regret it." Rotimi's fist tightened, but he held his peace. Lagos was no longer just a city of dreams. It had become a battlefield of love. The separation came swiftly. Omotala was sent to Ibadan under the care of an aunt. Communication between her and Rotimi were blocked as her father replaced her phone and SIM card so that Rotimi could not contact her. Days turned to weeks. Rotimi walked the streets of Lagos, haunted by memories of her laughter at Borough Beach, her hand in his hand at Tafawa Balewa Square. Omotala, too far away, stared at the moon each night, whispering his name. Two hearts beat for each other, yet distance and duty pulled them apart. But destiny had not spoken its last word. In Ibadan, Omotala lived quietly with her aunt. She taught children in a small community school, her heart always heavy. At night, she stared at the stars, wondering if Rotimi looked at the same sky. Meanwhile, in Lagos, Rotimi grew stronger. He now managed shipments for the auto spare part merchant, his earnings increasing. Yet no matter how much he gained, his heart was empty without Omotala. He tried every possible communication channel to reach Omotala, but to no avail. The silence between them grew, but their love refused to die. Months rolled into a year. Omotala's father grew restless. "Folabi has waited too long," he reminded his wife. Plans for marriage resumed, even though Omotala begged for delay. In Lagos, Rotimi had saved enough to rent a small shop. He started his auto spare parts business at Apapa, naming it Ireti Enterprises, Hope. His workers respected him, customers trusted him. Yet at night, when the city grew quiet, he whispered her name. Lagos gave him success, but not peace. Love remained his hunger. Folabi traveled often, leaving Omotala in Ibadan to prepare for their future wedding. He sent expensive clothes and jewelry, but she never wore them. One afternoon, a friend brought her a Lagos newspaper. As she flipped through, her heart stopped. There was Rotimi, photographed at a business event, trades fair, shaking hands with foreign investors and government officials. The caption read, "Young entrepreneur on the rise." Tears filled her eyes. He had kept his promise. Her heart ached with pride and sorrow, for she could still not reach him. Rotimi's name began to spread in Lagos. Other traders admired his discipline. He moved into a modest but comfortable apartment in Surulere. His mother often told him, "Your father would be proud." Yet his heart carried only one thought, Omotala. Every successful deal, every handshake reminded him of the promise he made to her. At night, he walked by Bar Beach, their old meeting place, staring at the waves. "One day, I will find you again," he whispered in the wind, his voice breaking. Back in Ibadan, Omotala's aunt noticed her sadness. "Child, your spirit is restless. Who holds your heart?" Omotala finally confessed everything about Rotimi. The aunt sighed deeply. "Your father wants riches, but love is wealth too. Yet in our land, duty weighs heavily." Omotala nodded, but her tears flowed. She prayed silently for strength. The children she taught often asked, "Auntie, why are you sad?" She would smile, but inside she longed for Lagos, for Bar Beach, for the voice of Rotimi. One day, Omotala's father came to Ibadan with news. "Your wedding will be next month. Folabi has arranged everything." Omotala's body shook. She wanted to scream, but her father's eyes were stern. That night, she wrote a desperate letter to Rotimi and gave it secretly to her aunt. "Find a way," she begged. The aunt, moved by her tears, promised to try. Meanwhile, Rotimi was in Lagos signing his biggest business contract yet. Wealth was finally coming, but he still lacked the one treasure he desired. The aunt traveled to Lagos determined to find Rotimi. After days of searching, she found his shop at Apapa. When she mentioned Omotala's name, his heart leapt. She handed him the letter. His hand shook as he read, "They plan to force me into marriage. I still love you. Do not forget me." Tears filled his eyes. He pressed the letter to his chest. "Tell her I will not let this happen. Tell her I am coming." His voice carried fire and promise. In the letter, she wrote her new phone number through which he could contact her. Rotimi worked tirelessly. Preparing himself, he bought fine clothes, saved more money, and planned to visit Omotala's father once again, this time as a man of means. But Lagos life was not without enemies. Folabi, hearing of Rotimi's success, grew furious. "He will not steal my bride," he swore. Using his influence, Folabi tried to ruin Rotimi's business deals. Rumors spread, contracts delayed, yet Rotimi refused to break. "Love gave me this strength," he said, standing firm like Iroko. The wedding date approached quickly. Drummers were hired, asoebi chosen, and guests invited. Omotala felt like a prisoner dressed in silk. Her aunt whispered, "Be strong. He will come." Meanwhile, Rotimi gathered his courage. He dressed in white agbada, his head high, his heart burning with love. With his mother by his side, he set out for Ibadan. The road was long, filled with traffic and dust, but nothing could stop him now. "Today," he vowed, "I will fight for her once more." On the wedding morning, Omotala sat quietly, her face veiled. Drums thundered, guests filled the compound, and Folabi strutted proudly. Suddenly, the crowd parted. Rotimi entered, his voice clear and steady. "I have come for Omotala." Gasps filled the air. Her father rose in anger, but Omotala tore off her veil, rushing to Rotimi's side. "This is the man I love," she cried. The compound erupted in chaos, drums, shouts, and whispers. But in that darkness, Omotala and Rotimi's hands clasped tightly, unshaken, as the love had taken their journey.
Furious and embarrassed, Folabi made a phone call to the commissioner of police, and Rotimi was arrested immediately and whisked away from the ceremony venue for interrupting his wedding. Outraged, Omotala's father could no longer bear the repeated shame and disappointment that her stubborn daughter is bringing to the entire family by refusing to marry her wealthy suitor. He made secret arrangements and sent Omotala outside the country, not just for the purpose to further her education, but to totally be out of reach from Rotimi. Omotala returned to Lagos after several years abroad. The city's bright lights felt strange, yet familiar. She carried success, wealth, and respect, but her heart was restless. She walked through Yaba, remembering the evenings she once shared with Rotimi. She heard rumors that he still lived in Surulere, quiet and unmarried. Omotala's chest tightened. She wondered if love could survive so much time. Could the heart still call for someone after years of silence? Destiny seemed to whisper softly in the night air. Rotimi had grown older, but his eyes still held the same fire. He never married, though many women admired him. He had built a small business, selling spare parts. Yet, deep within, he carried Omotala's memory like a sacred song. Sometimes, when the rain fell, he would sit by his workshop door and remember the girl who had once been his dream. He thought their story had ended long ago, until destiny miraculously brought them back together. Their reunion was not grand. It happened by accident. Omotala's car broke down along a busy Lagos road, and it was a major engine problem. The mechanic sent her to go and buy the spare parts for her car. She had visited several shops in the market in search of the exact spare parts that fit her car. Eventually, she was directed to a particular shop where her problems would be solved. As fate may have it, that shop was Rotimi's. Eventually, they met again. At first, he did not recognize her, but when the eyes met, silence fell. Time folded like cloth, and the years between them disappeared. Omotala trembled. Rotimi's hands shook. Neither knew what to say. Lagos noise roared around them, yet their hearts beat louder. Destiny had called them back together in the simplest of ways. That night, Omotala could not sleep. Memories of their love, their laughter, their pain returned like waves. She remembered the evenings on Lagos Island, the promises by the lagoon. Rotimi too lay awake. He wondered if he was right to hope again. He feared disappointment, yet his heart whispered that love had returned. Love often hid behind trials, but when it resurfaced, it was stronger. Both hearts wondered if destiny would allow them one more chance at happiness. Omotala's family disapproved once again. They believed she was too established, too successful to return to the life Rotimi lived. Her mother reminded her of her status, her wealth, and the eyes of society. Omotala listened, torn between duty and love. She walked through the busy streets of Balogun Market, hearing traders sing out prices. Yet inside, her spirit battled. Could love stand against tradition, pride, and family expectations once more? She feared losing Rotimi again, or she feared her family's judgment. Rotimi, meanwhile, decided to fight this time. He refused to let fear steal their love again. He went to Omotala's house in Ikoyi, dressed simply, but with courage in his eyes. Her mother frowned at him, but he bowed respectfully, as Yoruba tradition demanded. He said, "I love your daughter. I will honor her, protect her, and never let her lack anything." His voice shook, yet his words carried power. Omotala's heart swelled, for she saw his bravery shining brighter than gold. The family remained firm, but Omotala stood beside Rotimi. For the first time, she raised her voice. "Mother, father, I respect you, but my heart belongs to him. I will not walk away again." Her parents were stunned. They had never seen her so bold. In Yoruba culture, parents' words were strong, but even elders knew when destiny spoke. Slowly, the room fell into silence. Love had found his voice, and tradition began to bend. The power of truth could not be denied any longer. The wedding was simple, yet grand in spirit. Drummers beat the talking drum, women sang in joy, and palm wine flowed. Omotala wore a shine asaoke, while Rotimi dressed in an agbada of deep blue. Guests filled the Lagos compound with laughter and dancing. Elders blessed them with prayers, saying, "May your love outlast storms. May your home be filled with peace." It was a folktale moment where love and tradition joined hands. Against all odds, their story had turned toward light. Years passed, but Omotala and Rotimi's love grew only stronger. They built a home where respect, laughter, and loyalty lived. Their story became one told by elders to children during moonlit nights. It was said, "Love may sleep, but it does not die. When the heart is true, destiny will bring lovers back together." Lagos itself seemed to honor their tale, as the lagoon sparkled each night like it remembered its promises. Love had conquered time, distance, and fear. At last, Omotala and Rotimi sat side by side on their veranda, old but still in hand. Their children and grandchildren gathered around listening to the tale of how they fought for love. The moon glowed softly over Lagos, and the night was filled with peace. Omotala whispered, "Love always wins." Rotimi nodded, smiling gently. And so, their story ended not in sorrow, but in joy. Like every great folktale, it taught that love, when true, triumphs against all odds. This story of Omotala and Rotimi teaches us that true love is patient and enduring. No matter how strong the storms of life may be, family pressure, distance, or time, love that is pure will always find its way back. It reminds us that wealth, beauty, and position fade, but the heart that loves sincerely never grows old. If this story inspired you, do not keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe to Audacity Folktales for more timeless stories rooted in the richness of African heritage. Together, let us keep our traditions alive and remind the world that African love stories shine just as brightly as the moon. Until then.